Hello everyone. Today we will discuss about how we can use multiple media types for a single resource in our RAML file. Okay, so for demonstration purpose, we would be creating one experience API that I have named it as Mule DigiWorld Employee Experience API. I have put the short form of this, that is eAPI. Okay, and so let's go ahead and I will copy this name and I will directly go to Anypoint platform. If you see, I have already logged in there, and now I will click on Design Center. So you can click from that button as well, which it was showing. So this Mule Digital Learning System, this one we used in a different video. So today we will create the API, experience API from scratch. Okay. So I'll just click on this create new button and then I will select new API specification, right? So I will give the same name which I copied. So Mule DigiWorld Employee Experience API, right? Now I will click on okay, so this option I am comfortable designing it on my own. This one I will keep it as it is, and then I will click on this create API specification. So by doing that, it will open the API designer. If you see at the top, it is showing API designer, right? So once it is open, so now what we will do is the API specification project is having currently only one file, that is Mule DigiWorld Employee eAPI, right? But we want to implement the concept where we will use multiple media types for a single resource, right? So let's say employee is the resource, employee, okay. So employee is the resource, and this one, for this one we will implement a post method. So I will just select from here, so the post I will select, and then the body of that post request should be application XML, and then the type we will mention it as what we mentioned there. As we will take the example, so based on that we will be using it here. So for now I will mention it like this. So if you see, for body I have mentioned application XML, right? That means this employee resource, this one will have one method, that is post, and this post method will accept only a application XML, right? So let's do one thing. Let's create a folder here and take our example. So new folder, and then I will take examples. And also I will create another folder that I will name it as schema, right? So we have taken this two. Okay, so now I will create a file here, that is new file, and I will give it a name as, this is the example file, and I'll just name it as, hold on, I will select other, and then here I will name it as employee. Okay, so first one we are using XML. So employee XML, I will mention it as XML data. Okay, so employee XML data dot, this one I will change it as XML. So I have added it here, right? So we will go back to our notepad, and here if you see, I have already kept it ready so that I can quickly take it from here. This is the example we are about to use. So let's go back to our Anypoint API designer, and here in this file I'll just put it here, okay, and I will just press Ctrl S. So if you see, this asterisk mark will go away, right? So that means it is now saved. Similarly, we will do for JSON file as well. So from here we will select other, and then this will be employee JSON data, right? So this one I will keep it as .json, and similarly we will go to our notepad, and there we will see this is the JSON message, right? Okay, so JSON sample message we have already taken. Okay, so I'll press Ctrl A so that it got saved. Yeah, now let's go back to our experience API RAML file. So for now we have mentioned it as XML, right? Application XML. So what I will do, I will take the schema for the XML. So I will click on this plus button, and then I'll select other, and from here I will create the employee XML schema. Employee XML schema dot XSD, right? So this one I have created here, and from our notepad we will take the schema for the same sample file. Ctrl C, and then I will just paste it here. Okay, so now I will just save it, Ctrl S. If you see, this file now is saved, right? So we will go back to our actual RAML file, and there we have mentioned it as XML, and then let's mention the type. Okay, so before actually mentioning the type there, we can take the types as we can include the schema files here. So I will name it as employee XML schema, and then colon, and then I will use exclamatory include, and then I will select schema, and then this file, right? So this file we are referring from, we have already imported it in our experience API RAML file, and now I will just Ctrl C, and here as we did, okay, so I will just press enter here, and I will scroll down, and I will select the type, and this time I will mention it as this one, right? Employee XML schema, which we have defined at line number 5. Okay, so by doing this it will be referring to that schema, and now we will provide the example. So this is the example, and here also we will do like this, include, and then we will select examples, and then I will select this one, right? So if you see, there is no error in our RAML file. So let's test it right now. Okay, so our RAML file, I have already saved it. So if you see, the asterisk mark is not there right now. So let's test it. So if you see in the documentation section here in the API console, it is showing post method only for the employee resource. If you follow my cursor, this is the method it is showing. So let's do one thing. I'll click on this and I'll just select write. Okay. So here if you see, it is trying to send that employee example which we have provided here in this file. It is trying to send this data as the request, right? So if you see here, it is trying to send that as the request, right? So let's send this, and if you see, the response is coming as 200, which says like the method is working, but thing is that for post method we actually want 201, that is the response, right? So for post method we will mention responses, right? And the response would be 201. That's what we will mention here, right? And we can keep it like this for now. And this time, okay, so before doing any other activity, just save this file. And now if you see, this asterisk mark is not there, so that means the file is saved, right? So this time let's send another request, and this time if you see, it is showing as 201. Now we are good, right? So this is quite expected result which can be expected from a post method, right? So let's do one thing. Let's take a JSON data, right? So we will take a JSON data and we'll go here, we'll select write, and then here let's do one thing. I will just replace this XML data with our JSON data, right? If we do send, then what it is showing? It is showing bad request, right? That means the JSON request is now not accepted by our employee resource for the post method, right? So this is the issue it is showing. So our purpose is to allow both application XML as well as application JSON for the same employee resource and for the same post method, right? So let me tell you some background here. So suppose for Experience API, you have received some requirement where there are multiple applications which are about to consume your Experience API, and one application is about to send the request in the form of JSON, and some other application which is also trying to consume your Experience API, but that application is willing to send application XML, right? So in that case, how you can allow both the media types in your same method for the same resource, right? So we will see how we can do that. So let's do one thing. Let's create another file here, and this time I will name it as employee JSON schema, right? I'll just put the name like this, and then I will say create. Now I will go back to here, and if you see, I have already prepared this schema, and I will just take it from here, Control C, and then I will paste it here, right? If you see, this file is not having any issue, so I will just press Control S. Now we have both the schema for JSON as well as XML data, right? what we will do quite similar thing like we have here. So let's add application JSON here, right? So by doing this, it will start allowing the application JSON along with application XML as well, right? So similarly, we will mention type here, and this time the type should be our referring to our employee JSON schema. Okay, so before doing that, we will just import another schema, JSON schema, and explanatory include, and then I will select, okay, I will select schema, and then this time we will select this one, right? So this is the type we have to mention here in our type for application JSON. So type would be this one, right? And then similarly we will use example, and example we will mention it as exclamatory include, and then we will mention it as examples and then JSON data, right? So now we have mentioned both the media types, application XML as well as application JSON for the same resource, same method, right? For employee resource, post method. So post method is now accept both the data formats like application XML and application JSON, right? So I will just, if you see the file is not yet saved, so I will just press Ctrl S, and then we have saved it, right? So now let's do the same thing once again, and if you see the response, we have mentioned it as 201, so we can keep it like this for now. So what we can do is post, and then this time if you see, it's now showing media type as application XML, application JSON, right? So let's do one thing. Application XML is selected, and we will click on try it now, and this time we will see that the XML body, the XML data is showing in the body. So let's go back, and then this time we will select application JSON, right? So application JSON, let's click on try it now, and this time if you see, again it is showing application XML. If you see, body content type is showing as application XML. So if we select this one, now it is showing the JSON, right? If you see, this data is exactly same data which we have mentioned here in this example, right? That's how it is working. So we will do the same thing once again. So try it, and then we'll select application JSON. If you remember earlier, the JSON data was not accepted by the post method. It was giving us 400 bad requests, but this time we have selected here application JSON, and we will just click on the send, and this time it should give us 201, right? So if you see, at the RAML level itself, that means at the API specification level, we have mentioned both the application XML and application JSON for the post method for the resource employee, right? So we have also tested it here through the API console, and now we can see that earlier it was not accepting the application JSON, but this time it has started accepting the application JSON along with application XML. So let's try application XML as well. So what we will do, we will select application XML here, and then we will select send. This time also, if you see, created time got changed, and now it is also showing 201. That means both the methods are actually working, right? Let's do one thing. If you see, we have mentioned types as well as the examples, right? So let's do one thing. Let's remove this one. Let's see if the validation is working or not, right? So we'll just select send. If you see, it is showing as bad request, right? Because the validation is enabled, and because we have mentioned type here for the application JSON as well as application XML, so it is trying to validate the request based on the schema we have provided there, right? So we will do the same thing for JSON. So JSON also we have mentioned it here, and if we remove this one, so we will remove, and if you see, if we send it again, 400 bad requests, right? And if we just revert it back and then send it, then it is showing 201 that is created, right? So this is how we can allow multiple media types in our experience API, and also this can be implemented for any other API which are using RAML. Okay, so this is how we can do that. So let's do one thing. We want to implement the same in our Anypoint Studio, right? So what we will do, so as per the standard method, what we can do, we can just publish this to the Anypoint exchange, and then we will try to develop the implementation for this experience API. Okay, so I'll mention it as version 1 here, and the asset version I will mention it as 1.0.0, right? Okay, this should be version 1. Okay, so we are good. Let's click on this publish to exchange. Now this API would be published to our exchange portal. See, it is now successfully published to exchange, right? So let's do one thing. Let's see what exactly got published to exchange. So if you see, we are here, and in the summary, if we see, this same thing is showing up, and we are good to go ahead. So employee and post method, and same thing, application JSON and other things, everything is showing up, right? So similarly we can try it from here as well. Okay, so we can basically send the request from here, and we can try to do some kind of testings. So our API, experience API, is now published to our Anypoint exchange, right? So let's go to our Anypoint Studio, and here what we will do is we will click on file, and then we will click on new project and new Mule project, right? And we will name it as, so I will select 4.1.6 as the runtime, and I will name it as the name which we gave there, this one, right? So Control C, and I will give the name it as API version 1. This is how I will name it as. Okay, and here we will select import a published API. So we will click on plus button and then we will select from Exchange. So here if you see, login to search for the content specific to an organization, right? So here we have to provide this username and password for our Anypoint platform login details. So we can provide it here. So I will give the username and password here. And I will click on sign in. Okay, so if you see, this time it is showing as username and the username which I provided there. And now that means I am now connected with Anypoint platform from my Anypoint studio, right? So here I will just try to search with the API name which I published there in the Exchange. So if you see, it is trying to search it, and we can see this API here which we published there in our Anypoint Exchange, right? So I will select this and then I will select add. If you see, the version is also getting shown here. So I'll just click on finish and it is downloading that API specification project from our Anypoint Exchange. And now I will click on finish and we will see that this Mule DigiWorld employee API version 1, this Mule project will be created, and there our API specification project would be added as a dependency, as a Maven dependency. Okay, so if you see, once it is done, we will just check that. So let it complete the processing. So it will take some time. Okay, so if you see, the scaffold execution was succeeded. That means the RAML file which got downloaded from the Exchange where we published our API specification. Based on that, it has already executed the scaffolding flow generation process, and then based on that, our this file got generated, this flows got generated, right? So Mule DigiWorld employee API main, this one is now showing up. So I'll just click on this. So if you see, Mule DigiWorld employee API version 1, this is the Mule project which we have created, and this is the Mule configuration file which got created uh, based on the settings or configurations which we have mentioned there during the creation of this Mule project. And if you see, it is showing this Mule DigiWorld employee API version 1.0.0 as the dependency, right? So this is the API specification project which has been added as Maven dependency to our Mule project, right? And we will see that everything got added. The post method was there. So if you see, that post method is also implemented here. So post method, this flow is there. Again, there is another flow, that is post application XML, right? So that means if the same resource is receiving application JSON, in that case this flow would be executed, this flow would be getting that message. And if the same post method for the employee resource is receiving the application XML message, then this flow would be receiving that message. Okay, so we will see that. So let's do one thing. I will just add a transform message here. Well, so this one is Okay, so there is some issue with the studio for this one, so I will just close this file and I won't save this. I will again open this one, and this time we will see that it won't show that issue. Okay, so if you see, this time it didn't show up, that arrow was having some issue earlier, right? Okay, so this time if you see the application JSON, you would be receiving application JSON for post employee. So this time I will make it as JSON in the transform message, and here response, I mentioned response as application JSON, right? And same thing I would be mentioning there as well for our application XML that flow. Okay, so here also I will just add another transform message, and this time I will mention it as XML, right? And the same thing I will copy from here, this one, and this is the, okay, I will change it as XML, and we are good to deploy this application and we will test it. Okay, so that means the response I have changed back to this one. So if the JSON is received, then the response would be saying application JSON, and if we receive application XML, then this would be application XML. The response would be application XML, right? So I will right click on this one and I will just run this project. So I will pause the video for till the time it gets deployed. Okay. Okay. So meanwhile, I have also opened the Postman to test this. So what I will do is I will open this main flow and I will go to listener configuration, and there I will check the listener configuration here. So you see it is trying to refer to this configuration, so I will just click on this edit button, and then if you see we have 8081 as the port. And also another thing I want to show you here, that is the path. Okay, so based on this we will be generating our URI, right? So here if you see we have everything as it is, so just we need to change this to employee, right? So we have changed it. Now let's see if this application is deployed or not. If you see, it is showing as deployed, right? So this time what I will do, I will just open that API specification project which is referred here, and in the example section we have our XML data as well as our JSON data. So I'll take it from here. Okay, so I'll go back to our Postman, and here I'll select XML, and then I will just replace this. Okay, so this is our URL, the method is post, and the body I have mentioned it as XML, right? So let's click on send, and we will see what response we get. If you see, the response is showing as 201 created. That means the response code is good, and if you see, the response is showing as application XML, right? So we have sent the request in application XML format, and we also have received the response in XML format, right? Okay, so let's do the testing for JSON as well. So I will change it to JSON, and this time I will take the JSON data from here, and I will go back here and I will change this payload to this one, and I will send it. And if you see, when we send the JSON data as a request, then we will get back the JSON response, right? So it is it looks good, right? Because whenever we receive the request in JSON format, we should respond in the same format as well, right? So if we receive XML data in the request, then we should respond with XML data, and if we receive JSON data in the request, then we should respond with JSON data, right? So that is pretty much I wanted to show you. Also, let's have a look into the Pom file. So if you open this Pom file, there you will find the dependency for the API specification project. So this one is the dependency which got added when we added that plus button and added that API specification from Exchange. So that time this got added automatically. Okay, so this is how it is trying to refer to the AnyPoint Exchange version of the API specification project, right? So this is pretty much I wanted to show you. So I hope you like the video and you have understood the concepts behind this. So see you soon in the next video.